Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that's, well, probably on the mind of every English language learner.
Yeah, how to actually think in English, right? Not just translate.
Exactly. If you're aiming to speak more fluently, find your words faster, understand things more intuitively, then this is definitely for you.
It's a common hurdle, for sure. A lot of learners naturally start by translating everything in their heads. And look, that's a normal first step.
But it causes problems down the line.
It really can. It leads to those frustrating roadblocks. You might find yourself pausing a lot, searching for words, maybe even, losing track in a conversation.
Yeah, that feeling of always being a step behind. So, okay, our mission today is pretty clear. We're diving into some really practical exercises, actual strategies to help you make that shift.
Right, moving away from translating and towards just thinking directly in English. We've looked at a conversation focused specifically on these kinds of techniques.
Okay, let's jump in then. Why is thinking in English such a game changer?
Well, fundamentally, when you think directly in English, you're letting your brain process the language naturally, more efficiently.
How so?
You're basically cutting out the middleman. That extra step of constantly converting from your native language, it disappears. Think of it like taking a direct flight instead of having a layover.
Okay, I like that. And that direct route, as we mentioned, it leads to some real noticeable improvements.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest thing you'll probably notice first is your speech becoming smoother, faster.
Fewer awkward pauses.
Exactly. You don't have those little gaps while your brain is doing the translation work. And it goes beyond just speaking, too. Your understanding gets deeper.
Because you're making direct connections.
Precisely. Direct links between English words and the actual concepts without that filter of your first language.
That makes a lot of sense, building a more direct pathway in the brain. So, okay, someone's listening and wants to start building that pathway. Where do they even begin? Seems daunting.
Well, the source material we looked at starts with something that sounds simple, maybe deceptively so, but it's really effective.
Okay.
Just consciously thinking in single English words. Look around you right now, wherever you are, and start mentally naming things in English.
So like computer, mug, plant.
Exactly. Lamp, window, chair, just the basics.
Okay, I'm doing it. That seems straightforward for things I know. But what about when you see something and the English word just isn't there? That's where I imagine people get stuck.
That's a really crucial point. And it's actually where the real learning opportunity lies. The advice is clear. Don't just skip it. Don't switch back to your native language in your head.
So what do?
You describe it. Use the English words you do have. So let's say you don't know bookshelf. You could think, it's the place where I keep my books, or the furniture with shelves for books.
I see. So you're still forcing your brain to operate in English, even without the perfect word.
Exactly right. The goal is to keep those mental gears turning in English. The conversation we reviewed had a great example. Someone saw, one of those metal things for paper.
A paper clip.
Right, but they didn't know the word, so they described it. A small metal tool that keeps papers together. And then they might remember or look up paperclip.
So the description itself is the exercise.
Yes. Think of it like carving out that new path in your brain just for English. The more you use it, even with simple descriptions, the stronger it gets.
Okay, that's a powerful way to look at it. Single words, descriptions.
Yeah.
What's the next step up from there?
Then we move on to forming simple sentences. Still keeping it pretty basic, focusing on what you're doing right now or what's around you.
Examples.
Things like, I am sitting down, or I am learning English, or maybe I am listening to this discussion. Very present focused.
Okay. Now, I can already hear a potential worry. What if my sentence isn't perfect? What if the grammar is wrong? People get hung up on that.
That's such a common concern, and it's valid, but especially when you're just practicing this mentally on your own. The main goal is just generating the English. Fluency over accuracy, at least initially.
So don't let perfectionism stop you.
Exactly. Don't let that fear block the practice. If you're unsure about a sentence, fine. Make a mental note. Check it later. Ask someone. That's all part of learning. Mistakes are how we figure things out.
Right. It's about getting the reps in, the mental repetitions, even if they aren't flawless. So what kind of simple sentences about surroundings?
Just simple observations. The sun is shining. My plant needs water. This room is a bit messy. Straightforward stuff about what you see, hear, feel right now.
Got it. Start small, build the habit. Present tense first. So how do we broaden that? Move beyond just the immediate now.
The natural progression is to start thinking about, well, future plans and also past events. In English, of course.
Okay, future first. How does that work?
Start using phrases like I'm going to or I will. So internally, you'd think, I'm going to make lunch after this, or I'll call my sister tonight.
Mm-hmm. So you're not just planning, you're practicing those future forms in your head.
Precisely. It gets your brain used to formulating those future ideas directly in English. And then you do the same for the past.
How so?
Consciously describe things you did earlier. Use the past tense. The source had a simple one. This morning, I woke up at 7.
Okay, so you might think to yourself, this morning I had breakfast, then I checked my emails. After that, I went for a short walk, like a mini narrative of your day.
Exactly like that. A running commentary, but internal and in English. And doing this, narrating your past or planning your future, you'll inevitably bump into words you don't know.
Which brings us back to vocabulary, right?
Yeah.
You need the words to think with.
Absolutely essential. The framework is one thing, but you need the building blocks. So yeah, strategies for actually remembering English words are crucial here.
What did the source material suggest for that? Making words stick.
A key technique is using new words actively right away. As soon as you learn a new word, try to make a sentence with it, even just a simple one in your head.
Active engagement, not just passive reading.
Exactly. It helps cement the word's meaning and how it's used. Much better than just writing it down and forgetting it.
Makes sense. Any other tips for retention?
Regular review is huge. Space repetition. Maybe look at new words before bed, then glance at them again when you wake up. And flashcards are great.
Physical ones or apps?
Either works. Apps can be really good because they're interactive, they test you, they make recall active.
Someone listening might be writing words in a notebook, which is fine, but adding flashcards or an app could really boost things.
Definitely. It adds that active recall element. And another powerful strategy, use the new words when you speak as soon as possible.
Even if you're just talking to yourself.
Especially if you're talking to yourself. It might feel weird at first, I get that.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's such a good tool. It reinforces the learning, gets your mouth used to the words, your brain used to retrieving them. It's fantastic preparation for actual conversations.
So instead of just thinking, I should cook dinner, you actually say out loud or muttered, okay, I need to cook dinner now.
Precisely. Or, right, let's finish this report. You can even imagine you're talking to someone.
Like a little role play in your head.
Yeah. Ask yourself a question, then answer it. In English, how was work today? Oh, it was pretty busy, but I got that project done.
That sounds like rehearsing, almost. Which links to another point from the source, right? Imagining everyday scenarios.
Yes, that's another great technique. Mentally walk through common situations where you'd use English.
Like ordering coffee. Or asking for directions.
Exactly. Picture yourself doing it. Think about the phrases you'd use. Excuse me, where is the restroom? Or could I have a latte, please?
By visualizing it and thinking the words.
You build comfort, familiarity. When the real situation happens, your brain is already kind of primed. You feel more prepared, less anxious.
Creating those mental pathways again. Now, we touched on describing the day, but let's maybe circle back to that as a specific exercise. How detailed should we get?
Describing your day in detail is a fantastic way to pull everything together, from waking up to going to sleep. It forces you to use daily routine vocabulary, different tenses for past actions, and future plans.
So narrating your life in English.
Pretty much. The source gave a nice example, something like, this morning I woke up, had breakfast, then I went for a walk and enjoyed the air. After that, I studied English for a bit. Later, I'm going to cook and watch a movie.
It sounds simple, but doing that consistently requires sustained thought in English.
It really does. And similarly, planning your day ahead in English each morning is also really beneficial.
How does that help specifically?
It just sets the tone. It gets your brain into English mode right from the start. Instead of mentally listing tasks in your native language, you consciously do it in English.
So not just gym, work, call mom, but okay, first I'm going to the gym, then I need to work on that report, and I will call my mom this afternoon.
Exactly. It seems small, but making it a habit keeps your mind engaged with English, constantly practicing those future tenses, those intentions.
Right. So we have these specific times, planning the morning, reviewing the day. What about just the random moments in between? Constantly describing things.
Yes. Making that a general habit is key. Consciously narrate or describe what you're doing or seeing as you go, even silently to yourself.
I'm pouring water. I'm waiting for the bus. That kind of thing.
Exactly that. And again, if you hit a word you don't know,
Describe it.
you got it. Fall back on description. The thing you use when it rains, for umbrella, keeps the thought process in English.
There was another example, the remote control one.
Right. Describing it as the device I use to change the channel on the TV. It works. It communicates the idea using the English you have.
And the advice is to push this further.
Yeah, as you get more comfortable, try describing more complex things, abstract ideas, even your thoughts and feelings.
Oh, describing feelings. That can be tricky even in your first language sometimes. How do we approach that in English?
Start simple. Basic emotions. I feel happy. I'm a bit tired. Then try to add more nuance. The source had a good, relatable example.
What was it?
Something like, right now I'm feeling excited because I'm learning, but also a little nervous because I want to get it right.
Yeah, that mix is very real for language learners. Being able to name that in English must be helpful.
Definitely. And it's important to, normalize feeling nervous or unsure. Making mistakes is just, it's part of learning. It's not failure. Don't let it stop you practicing.
Okay, this all sounds great, very practical. But the big question I know listeners will have, how long does this take? When does thinking in English start feeling, well, natural?
Ah, the timeline question. It's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Pretty much.
And the honest answer is, well, it depends. Mostly on consistency, how much you practice, how consciously you apply these techniques.
So magic number of weeks or months?
Unfortunately not. It really comes down to the effort you put in. Some people, if they're really dedicated, practicing daily, might feel a real shift in a few months. For others, it might take longer.
The key is sticking with it.
Exactly. Persistence is everything. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen overnight. Every little bit of practice, every single word you think in English, it adds up. It's building that pathway, brick by brick.
So, wrapping things up, what's the main takeaway? The first thing someone listening should do after hearing this?
The absolute key is just to start. Start practicing daily, even just for 5 minutes. Seriously, 5 minutes is better than 0.
Start small.
Yes. Think in single words walking down the street. Form a simple sentence about what you're eating. Try one mental conversation. Just begin. Consistent effort, even small bits, makes a massive difference over time. Be patient with yourself.
Absolutely. So the big message here is that training your brain to think in English, it's not some impossible dream. It's a skill. And like any skill, you can build it with practice using these kinds of actionable techniques we've talked about.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought for you listening right now. As soon as this finishes, try one exercise. Just one. Maybe name 3 things you can see in English in your head. Or plan the very next thing you're going to do using an English phrase like, I'm going to.
Just a quick, immediate application.
And just notice how it feels. Notice your thoughts. And then maybe reflect for a second. How could making this kind of small shift consistently change your whole English learning journey down the road? Which one of these techniques could you actually see yourself doing, maybe starting tomorrow?